Hey guys, it's time to Nefas and chill. In this video today, I'll be showing you the Light's Mercy Templar Tank build for PvE that you can use for all 4-man content, including Dragon's Star Arena and Black Rose Prison. A lot of people have been asking me to update the Light's Fury PvE Templar Tank build I put out back in Scalebreaker, that one with Paladins and Fury. However, considering that's more for a Paladin type build, slash hybrid DPS spec, I actually just want to focus more on the role of tanking, particularly for beginner players or people not yet familiar with the Templar class toolkit. Before we get to the rest of the video, you guys have been awesome showing up to my Twitch, where we recently got partnered, and supporting my content creation through YouTube. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel yet to get the latest ESO news, information, builds, and guides, please consider doing so, as it also means a lot to me. The focus of the Light's Mercy Templar Tank build will be all 4-man content, improved sustain, huge damage mitigation, group healing, synergies, and damage boost. While you can tank with any race with this build, I do recommend Argonian first and foremost, reasons for which I'll touch on later, but you can also tank with this build on the Breton, Altmer, Imperial, and Nord. Let's take a look at the stats. So for the Argonian Templar, which we're going to be showcasing with this build, we do have 31 points into the attribute of health and 33 points into stamina. This ends up with 23,144 max magicka, 36,364 maximum health, and 23,210 health. In terms of magic recovery, we have 1,297, almost 1,300, unbuffed without a potion. Health recovery is quite high, 1,002, and stamina recovery is pretty low. The reason why we put so many points into stamina over health or magicka is because due to the Argonian racial passives, we do get not just maximum health, we also get maximum magicka gain. In terms of the Argonian skills as well, we also do get a boost to healing done, which will play an important role into the facets of this build. In terms of resistance, we have quite a bit unbuffed, as you can see. We have 27,000 spell resistance, which is more than enough for all 4-man content. Physical resistance as well, 24,000. You may be asking yourself, well, this is not a Nord, this is this is not a Dragon Knight with passives or whatever. How do you have so much resistance? And I'll show you guys the resistance buffed, plus with a potion to show you the full recovery. Yikes. Yeah, that's a lot of resistances. You're basically overcapped. And again, this is way more than enough. In terms of magic recovery, we have 1,500. And this is going to help us sustain quite a lot of skills we have planned in terms of the Light's Mercy build. But as you can see, really, really high mitigation. Even unbuffed, you'll be fine. In terms of the Mundus stone, again, playing into the idea of the Argonian, we do have to kind of go with the Lord in terms of, in comparison to Nord, Imperial, or even Orsimer, Argonians don't really have too much max health, so we're going to go with the Lord. If you have trouble sustaining magic recovery, you can consider switching up enchantments on the body, differently from what I do in this build video, and consider going the Atronak. Otherwise, you can follow these stats and you'll be fine. In terms of food, you'll probably get sick of me saying this in multiple class build videos, but Bewitched Sugar Skulls is really OP. Free health recovery, plus more max stats than Tri-Stat food. You can use just regular purple Tri-Stat food, you just won't get the health recovery, and you'll get slightly less max stats, but Sugar Skulls is relatively cheap, at least on PC in North America, and it's just free stats. For this build, you don't really need Witch Mother's Foundry or something like that, like other tank builds use, because your magic recovery should be enough. And that's pretty much it for the character stats. We're going to be moving on to the item sets. In terms of the item sets, for the 2-piece monster set bonus, we do have Stonekeeper. Stonekeeper is a very interesting set. In fact, in terms of offering sustain for yourself, it is definitely as good or better than Grundwolf and other certain sustain sets. Stonekeeper is pretty much guaranteed magicka and stamina back, along with health back after you block 6 attacks. So reading the bonuses, the first piece bonus gives us basically a prismatic enchantment, which means a tri-stat enchantment, gives us a bit of health, gives us a bit of stamina, gives us a bit of magicka. Really good. And then the 2-piece bonus, when you block an attack, you gain an energy charge stack up to 1 stack per second. When you gain 6 charges, you release the energy, restoring 5,000-ish stamina magicka and healing for 6,000-ish health. And then this occurs pretty much every 14 seconds. Or after every 14 seconds, you can regain the charges. And for Templar, unlike a couple of the other classes in ESO, you don't have a very easy way especially for people unfamiliar with the Templar class, to gain your resources back. I see a lot of new Templar tanks kind of struggle with getting magicka or sometimes stamina back, especially in harder content. So Stonekeeper is definitely going to be a staple set for you to use. You can use other sets that may help, like Earth Gore or something like that, but Stonekeeper's a really safe bet to go, and I would highly recommend with this build in particular to keep it. And in terms of the trait and enchantments, just like the 1-piece bonus, we're going to have a tri-stat enchantment bonus or a prismatic enchantment on it. The trait will be sturdy, and the trait on the shoulders will be sturdy, along with another tri-stat enchantment on it. Pretty much every body piece except the shield will have tri-stat enchantments, as you guys can see. The primary 5-piece set we want to wear on the body is going to be the Ironblood set. And the Ironblood set is a very interesting set. I actually had quite a lot of doubts in the back of my mind as I was comparing several setups I came up with when I was theory crafting for the Templar Tank build. And, you know, before testing it, I read the 5-piece bonus. I mean, I was like, okay, 2-piece bonus, 1,206 maximum health, cool. 3-piece and 4-piece, free mitigation, more resistance, cool. Then I read the 5-piece bonus. When you take damage, you have an 8% chance to turn your blood into pure iron and gain major protection for 10 seconds. That's huge. Major protection is a really, really powerful buff, damage mitigation buff to have, not just for PvE dungeons or trials, but also for PvP. Just to give you guys an idea, it's so powerful that for Greymoor patch, it seems that they're going to be nerfing the Black Rose dual weapons that offer 3 seconds of major protection. Imagine 10 seconds of major protection. And it reduces your damage taken by 30%. And the way the math works, it's a pretty huge mitigation buff. But then I read the next line. When your movement speed is reduced by 50%. And this can be very... I found this very, it turned me off. I was like, well, who's going to wear this set? Because in PvE, mobility can be an important factor in determining the outcome of a fight as a tank, or determining your important positioning sometimes. Because positioning does play a part in tanking, right? And I tried it out, but I have my significant doubts about it. And after trying it out, the 50% movement speed reduction is not bad at all, to be honest. It certainly is noticeable, but it's definitely manageable. And to test this, as you guys probably saw in the demo part of the video and also in the lower left corner of this video, we did Cradle of Shadows as a test run because that has a lot of snares. The Velodreth running room mechanic has a lot of snares, horvers, people stunning you, stuff like that, spiders slowing you down. And to be honest, it was fine. It definitely took some time getting used to initially, but after you recognize when this had procced and what to do about it when you got snared, it was pretty straightforward. So the 10 seconds of major protection, in my opinion, was worth it. Standing in all the bad stuff for free. It's basically the mentality of this build is stand your ground, don't move, hold block, get your sustain, heal yourself and your other group members, provide buffs if you want. And that's it. It's as simple as it gets with the first two sets. In terms of the secondary 5-piece set, and again, the traits pretty much will be all sturdy on every piece just to help your block sustain as a Templar Tank. Also, try set enchantments on every piece. If you don't want to invest too much gold into getting these Hakeju enchantments, you can just do like a combination of health, magic, and stamina glyphs. Whatever is going to be most comfortable for you in terms of your attribute points and your max stats. In terms of the secondary 5-piece set, I tested quite a few different ones, like Battalion, Defender, and Cyrill's Crest, and so forth. And Almalexium's Mercy actually came out on top for me in terms of consideration for the group. And Almalexium's Mercy in comparison to Battalion Defender, so Battalion Defender, for example, while it does give you a nice maximum stamina bonus, which is great for pretty much any tank setup, along with a maximum health bonus, it says after successfully blocking, heal yourself or a group member within 15 meters of you for 2380 health. This effect can occur once every second. So this does have smart healing priority, and by that I mean like the person with the lowest health is prioritized by this set. But you need to be successfully blocking. And with this, with Mental Protection, you often don't need to block even heavy attacks from elite mobs. And also you don't really need to perma-block, really, in a lot of the forming content in ESO. So this is kind of dubious. And also the fact that a group member, or you, or somebody else, is going to get healed within 15 meters. It's not enough. It didn't feel like it was enough for my the build. So I looked at Almalexia's Mercy. It gave us maximum health, gave us more armor, more mitigation. And the 5th piece bonus says, when you take damage, you have a 20% chance to heal you and your allies within 7 meters of you for 2890 health. So cons, definitely smaller range, but when you're going to be keeping up heals and stuff on this build, you're going to be within range to proc this set, or rather heal the people near you with this set. The proc chance. Now the 20% proc chance versus the guaranteed every second chance, or every second heal, seems worse, but actually you have to take in mind it heals both you and everybody around you within 7 meters for more every 3 seconds. And the 20% chance is actually not noticeable. It pretty much procs almost every time. You can take a set and test it out in a PvE Overland Mob, but it pretty much procs a lot. In dungeons, when everything is hitting you, it's pretty much procking every time it can. Every 3 seconds, I definitely could see it procking, and it's very noticeable, bright glow. So the amount of healing done versus Battalion Defender on multiple people is going to outweigh that, and that's why we went with Almalexia's Mercy ultimately. So far, we have Sustain for Yourself, which in turn provides, being alive and providing passive healing for your group. We also have Free Mitigation, plus a massive buff to yourself, at the cost of movement speed, which, again, you can handle. And in addition to all this, we're going to be having a Maelstrom Resto Staff. You can do a Destruction Staff for like wall and off balance, or lightning staff for off balance, stuff like that. But for this build, for the theme of this build, plus how it meshes with the other sets, we're going to go with the Maelstrom Resto. And we're still going to have it infused with a Crusher enchantment on it. In terms of the traits for the jewelry and the weapons on the Sword and Board bar, we have magic recovery on every single jewelry piece. You don't have to transmute the traits, which is good, because these are the default traits. So Arcane is pretty nice to have. If you feel like you're lacking health, or you want an extra bit out of a certain stamina, or a certain bit out of certain enchantments, you can go infused, you can go healthy, but this seems fine. for the most part. And for the one-hander and the sword, we have decisive, and you can slot poisons here as well, such as Drain Health Poison number 9, gives you magic and stamina and health back if you need, and the decisive trade will still work, so it's really up to you. Almalexia's Mercy Shield, infused, again, it depends on what you need. Do you want more dodge roll cost reduction, sprint cost reduction to go well fitted? If you want more max stats, go infused. If you feel like the 7 sturdy, which should be enough, is not enough, you can go sturdy again. So really up to you. Maelstrom Resto. So the Maelstrom Resto, the 2-piece bonus says for the precise regeneration set, when you critically heal with regeneration, you restore 800 magicka. This effect occurs every 4 seconds. So even with your low crit on the back bar, it still seems to proc fairly often, especially if you're healing both yourself and at least 2 other people. So it does occur once every 4 seconds, every 4 to 6 seconds for me. You can raise your spell crit up if you'd like, but you don't really need to. So this is going to give us free magicka sustain. But really, we already have enough magicka sustain from certain other sources, which we will bring up. But we do have enough magic recovery from the glyphs and so forth. But yeah, we'll be going into skills, and we'll be tying everything together with this Light's Mercy build. In terms of your primary healing for yourself, and yes, as a tank, you definitely need to heal yourself at times, especially maybe your healer is brand new, maybe your group doesn't even have a healer. Whatever is the case is, I can't sugarcoat this, but the Templar class does not have a great self-heal. Especially when it comes to group content in PvE. I know a lot of you probably sat up straight after hearing me say Templars don't have great heals. What do you mean? But when I'm talking about the Templar heals in terms of the group content, things like Honor the Den or Breath of Life, it doesn't scale off of other tank roles or tank classes do, like Dragon Knight or Warden or even Necro. It doesn't scale off of your max health or anything, or missing health. It scales off of max magic and spell damage. And also, it can target other people, which is not really great. I mean, even Sork tanks have a heal for themselves in the form of the Clan Fear. But Templars don't really have that. So Honor the Den and Breath of Life, it's gonna be kind of a waste of magic. I mean, if you want to use it, for example, Breath of Life or Honor the Den, you can. It's just gonna be a really weak heal for yourself. And when you do need a heal in certain situations, it's not gonna be enough. So that's why we're gonna go with the Alliance War skill, Resolving Vigor. Resolving Vigor is a really, really powerful heal. That's over 10,000 health over 4 seconds. It's a really short but powerful burst heal. Only for yourself. It's very, very reliable. It can get you through all the content. Just need to know how to manage it with your stamp pool, but it's pretty manageable with this build, as you'll see. In terms of Ransack versus Pierce armor for the Light's Mercy build, we do have the minor protection passive from, where is it? Spear Wall. When activating an Atrix Spear ability, gain minor protection for 6 seconds. So you basically need to activate an Atrix Spear ability every 6 seconds to retain the minor protection buff. But again, you can do Puncturing Sweep or Trash or something like that, but when it comes down to when you're actually tanking hard-hitting bosses and stuff, you're not really going to have too much time with this. You can use Radiant Ward, but there are other situations where this particular spot, this skill slot, can be swapped out for other things like Power of the Light, Living Dark, and we'll go over this later. But it's not always guaranteed that you'll have Radiant Ward, although you could probably make some room for it. But so this is really up to you. If you want to guarantee minor protection from Ransack, or you want to do Pierce armor and perhaps have a healer run Elemental Drain, or if you yourself want to run Elemental Drain. But anyway, moving on. As I mentioned, the third skill slot on the front bar is a flex slot. There will be times where for single target boss fights, for 4-man, you definitely want Power to Light. Power to Light is just additional penetration. Minor fracture and minor breach. Reduction of physical and spell resistance on the target by 1320. Free penetration for your group. Always good news. And this is a part of a core identity for Templar tanks, especially for PvE content. Because the only reason why some groups have in recent days brought a Templar tank is because they want the Power to Light buff, or debuff. And that's pretty much it. So definitely take advantage of this when you can. You don't really need this for trash fights, because obviously trying to put Power to Light in every single thing in a mob is gonna be pretty difficult, or kind of time consuming, or just a waste of resources. For trash, I do recommend Living Dark. Living Dark lasts for 6 seconds. And anytime an enemy uses a direct damage attack against you, so they can be throwing a dagger, smacking you with a heavy tail attack, or whatever, or light attacking you, the sphere lashes back, reducing their movement speed by 60% for 3 seconds. And that heals you per attack for 1,210 health. This is a really good amount of healing. Plus, it helps you crowd control mobs. You know, you don't have talons, you don't have grasp, you don't have certain things that other classes may have access to in terms of crowd control. So Living Dark kind of fulfills that to a degree. Now, talking about Radiant Ward, when should you use Radiant Ward? So Radiant Ward on this build, it's a pretty high value actually. It's almost 9,000. Because it does scale off of your max health. So the higher your max health is, the better. Unfortunately, on this build, we don't have too high of a health. But even without too high of a health, oh dear, I think we don't have the food. But we were at 36,000 earlier. It's going to be a lot higher than 9,000. So when do you use this? You use this because there's a lot of times where you may need a damage shield. So again, it's like Igneous Shield for Dragon Knight. It's like a time buffer. So you keep up your healing, and then when the boss is doing a heavy attack or channeling on you, this is when you start kind of spamming it or using it, keeping it up. So that gives both you and your healer some time to react, and vice versa. So pretty situational. Use it if you want. And so due to our decent magic recovery, we can keep it up for a fairly decent amount of time, really, especially with food. A Heroic Slash, of course. This is the bread and butter of every tank class, no matter what. Minor Heroism, free ultimate generation. Minor Maim, free damage reduction from a boss, or whatever, or in a late ad. Repentance. Repentance is a really powerful skill for any Templar tank to have. Basically, once trash starts dying around you, you can just activate it. There's no cost to it. You heal you and your allies for almost 3,600 health for every corpse. However, it only restores 3,000 stamina per corpse. So it used to be that it restored both health and stamina to everybody around you and yourself, but they nerfed it by saying, okay, that's a bit too much. We're gonna have you just heal others, but not give them stamina. But this is a really, really good skill to have. 3,000 stamina per corpse. This can be really important to have for certain boss fights where there are ads that you may need to kill, ads that may just end up dying. Trash fights will be really easy to manage with Repentance. You'll never run out of stamina. There's no way. There's no possible way unless you just keep roll dodging forever and not use Repentance. Then you'll run out of stamina. But it's really hard to run out of stamina on this build with this skill. And of course, we do get Minor Fortitude, Minor Endurance, and Minor Intellect, which increase this build's health, stamina, and magic recovery by 10%. It's really nice to have this on the Sword and Board bar, where you may need to have an extra bit of recovery for max Magicka, or rather Magicka. And this can also affect, that's why earlier you saw that it was a bit high. It was over 1,000 with Bewitcher Skulls. Remembrance. Okay, so this ultimate is also pretty OP, but at the same time we do have major protection from the Iron Blood set, and this also gives us major protection. The Iron Blood set actually lasts for 10 seconds with an internal cooldown of 5 seconds. So after it procs, you have another 5 seconds before it will come back up again. Remembrance is used for like emergencies, but certain emergencies, you can't just use it and expect to just live through everything. There's a certain fight, or rather the end boss fight, hard mode, Frostvault hard mode, the last boss fight with the Frostvault Guardian. Remembrance can be really good for surviving through almost everything that he throws at you. And I've done, if you look at the demo video I put out, after people were like, oh, your builds don't work. One of the demo videos I showed was a Light's Fury build using Remembrance to live through everything that the Frostvault Guardian threw at me. The Flame Arm, the oil, and also the fact that there was no healer to heal me. So this is a really, really strong skill to have, but it's a matter of knowing when to use it. But I would definitely recommend to use it for Frostvault. On the back bar, we have Restoring Focus. Restoring Focus is the stamina morph of Rune Focus. Channeled Focus is the Magicka morph, and what basically the Channeled Focus morph does is grant you Magicka back while you're standing in it, standing in the rune. The Stamina morph, however, grants us stamina back every second while we stand in the rune, while also giving us Major Ward, Major Resolve. Why the Stamina morph? Because this skill will give you stamina back while you're blocking. As you can see, it's a lot. So the rune is gone, and I'm holding block, and stamina is not coming back. During a fight, while you're block casting skills or holding block, and after you break free or dodge roll, you're gonna be low on stam. You're gonna get there. So the stamina morph for rune is gonna help you a lot with your sustain. As you can see, it just keeps going up. 240 stamina back every second is not a joke. 240 stamina per second is a pretty significant resource return. Of course, this also has the added bonus of granting you more mitigation, which will be a lot, especially for this build that has pretty much broken the resistance caps. The next skill, Inner Rage. This is a good skill to have. For the most part, unlike the Dragonite tank or some of the other tank builds I've done, you'll probably go more with the Silver Leash than you do with Inner Fire for a lot of the trash. It's just more convenient because you can taunt them immediately after they come to you with Pierce or Rainsack. Now, Energy Orb. This is also a flex slot. Energy Orb is one of the reasons why we aren't kind of using like Shard or anything on the front bar or anything is because it's one synergy per one person. So one cast per one person. Not very efficient in terms of your resource usage. Why not just provide healing and synergies for everyone? And multiple people can synergize off of one orb. And it doesn't matter if you're a tank, healer, or DPS using a healing orb. Just the amount of healing done from people synergizing the orb and the splash heal it does, because it does splash heal, a lot of people don't know this, is insane. So with this build, you're providing already for yourself sustain, mitigation, healing done for your group, and in addition to the healing done for the group with Alexia's Mercy, we have Energy Orb now. Plus, we are going to talk about Extended Ritual. Extended Ritual offers a synergy as well for the Purify synergy. If people have debuffs on them, they can just use the Purify synergy. When it pops up on their screen, it also heals you passively over time as long as you're standing in it. It's a really big area. It's a really big circle of influence. And this will cover most boss fights, most trash fights usually. And you can also use this to remove the snares on you. So again, I want to talk about the downside of this Iron Blood set that you may need to get used to. once you get snared, that will actually stack with the 50% snare from the set's proc. So when you notice you get snared by spiders or something in Cradle of Shadows, you just tap Ritual and you're done. And again, lots of healing done. Amalex's Mercy every 3 seconds. Energy Orb, and this energy it provides every 20 seconds. Extended Ritual, which ticks every 2 seconds. And then of course the last skill we talk about, Radiating Regeneration. Before we talk about Radiating Regeneration, I was gonna refer you guys to another skill on the Resto staff. So, Combat Prayer. This can be a flex spot. You don't have to do Energy Orb. Combat Prayer is gonna provide Minor Berserk to your groups. Minor Berserk is a significant buff in terms of boosting people's damage. So if you can keep it up as a tank, all the better. Especially if your group does not have a healer to provide combat prayer. So again, this build is all about supporting the group in terms of healing, buffing, and of course debuffing, as we saw earlier with Power to Light. So moving on to Radiant Regeneration, this is a pretty significant amount of healing done, even if you're on a tank spec. Plus the fact that it works with the Master Resto, it's going to add a lot of survivability in conjunction with pretty much every of the skills that we just kind of went over in terms of healing done. And that's pretty much it. For the Backfire ultimate, it can be Aggressive Horn, typically. Although if you feel like you want to play safe and you want to, kind of put out more healing done and potentially grant somebody Major Force, although Major Force is granted to everybody in your group by Aggressive Horn, you can stick with Light's Champion. It's a pretty absurd amount of healing done. Plus, the Major Force is kind of nice if you can try to push out as many as possible. But again, Aggressive Horn is kind of better for Major Force. Alternative skills I kind of want to talk about. Siphon Spirit. You can do Elemental Drain. But if you already... it's just superior because of the Major Breach. But if you already have Pierce Armor or something like that, you can do Siphon Spirit. So the rest of the staff skill line does have access to Minor Magic Steel. So you don't necessarily have to be like, okay, I have to stick with Rainsack and just do Alley Drain. You can just be like, okay, I can just do Pierce Armor and I can just slot Siphon Spirit. And Siphon Spirit doesn't really offer much beyond the Minor Lifesteal and Minor Magic Steel, but the Minor Lifesteal is another additional extra healing done you can provide for your group. It's just a matter of perspective on that one. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it for the items or item set skills. In terms of champion points, we do have 81 into Ironclad, 56 Hardy, 56 Elemental Defender, 66 Thick Skin, 11 Quick Recovery, and this can be used for every single dungeon hard mode, DLC or not, Black Rose Prison, and Dragonstar Arena. 51 Warlord, 16 Bashing Focus, same deal here, 16 Tenacity, 64 Arcanist, 51 Tumbling, 73 Shadow Warden, and 64 Elfborn, or 64 Blessed, 56 Elfborn, 2 Physical Weapon Expert, 28 Master at Arms, 56 Thaumaturge, 64 Precise Strikes. And the Precise Strikes will actually affect your healing done with Vigor. So pretty important to have that. The Repose perk is kind of free, so why not? If you want to allocate these 30 points away from the Atronac and put them more into the Apprentice Tree or Thaumaturge or Precise Strikes, you can. 64 plus and 56 Elfborn is gonna definitely cover the amount of healing you do with Combat Prayer, Ritual, Radiant Regeneration, Energy Orb, Amalex's Mercy is also affected by it, and Vigor and Dependence. So it's a pretty huge load of healing and mitigation. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this build I put out for the Templar class. If you have any questions about the Light's Mercy build, let me know down in the comments below. If you try it out, let me know as well. I'd like to hear your feedback on it. And that's pretty much it. Stay safe, healthy, and see you guys next time.